Okay.
All right. We have the distinct honored first female guest we ever had, and a high school classmate of mine who if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we ever even said a word to each other in high school.
We have definitely have not said a word to each other in high school at all.
And they're now 31 years old, but I see a lot of cool content from you online. And like we were just saying, you do a good job getting the thoughts across and stuff. And I figured it'd make for a fun conversation. I'm a fan of what they might label schizo posts in all forms. So we're going to get into some wild stuff today. So someone who isn't familiar with you or what you're into or your page, how would you sum it up?
So how would I sum up my page? Let's see. I talk
You're an
about,
artist and
yes,
talk about lots of alternative thinking points that we love on
right.
the show.
So in 2019, I feel like I went through my spiritual awakening to where like I felt like I personally woke up and realized that, oh shit, like the way I've been taught to live or think, I don't have to do that anymore, you know? And so the more I opened myself up to that realm, the more information kind of just came to me. And so once I got to a point in my own healing journey that I felt like I could use my voice to, you know, help anyone else that felt like they were going through a shit time in their life or even hitting their rock bottom, and how to rebuild yourself up from that, especially if you've been through trauma and shit that's been passed down from our parents, you know? So a lot of people don't realize that that isn't ours to carry and we can let it go. Because I've carried it for almost, I think I was 25 when I was like, this whole new world like came to me. And I was like, holy shit. Like I felt like that moment where you're like, oh wow, this is what I've been waiting for. This is something that like that bing of light like within me clicked on. And it just started spiraling. More information, more information, more. I just always wanted to learn more and more and more about it because it helped me so much.
For sure.
And honestly, yeah.
What would you
And
say is the moment that triggered it? Sorry, not to interrupt you, but I was wondering as you're talking, what was the one thing that was like the turning point that you said so-called wake up, like, oh shit, everything is a lie?
So, okay, so back in 2019, I would say I was like 25 years old. I remember I was like, I'm a new mom and I was seeing patterns being repeated, right? That like my parents were doing. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do that. And I remember one day I was just like, God, like if you're real, because I didn't believe in God. I never went to church. I never I didn't know, you know? So I'm like, God, if you're real, help me. Please help me because I can't keep living like this. Because I was living with anxiety. I was living with trauma. And if you were like mentally, emotionally abused as a child, that shit stays inside you if you're not learning how to let it go. So I just grew up unworthy. So I started posting things online about crystals because I randomly saw someone post something about crystals, and I spiraled into that. And my aunt took me to she reached out to me. My aunt was like, I have this woman, she's a Reiki practitioner, you should go see her. And I was like, okay. I didn't know what I was going to walk into. Honestly, I thought maybe something close to like a priest or a pope type thing. And then I came in, this was like this badass lady that was like swearing up a storm, tattoos all over her. And I'm like, oh my God, she's everything I want to be in life. And so since that, meeting her and hearing her story about how her childhood was and who she became, I was like, okay, then I could do that too. So meeting her, honestly, she was like my guru, I would say, that taught me everything that I know. And if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be me today.
And so very much healing.
May I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't, by all means, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but coming from my background, a couple of things that you said just are glaring, like glaringly stuck out to me. One of them was spiritual awakening, and the other one was rock bottom. I'm just curious, do you come from an addiction or alcohol background?
Looking back, I would definitely say I was an alcoholic. But at the time, if you told me if I was alcoholic, I would say no, you know. But I was drinking regularly and I was a stay-at-home mom. So that doesn't mix well.
Mm.
And also, my rock bottom was I was a very angry kid. Very angry, but the way I was raised, I knew something wasn't right with the way my parents were raising me. You know, you have that in you, you know. So I was always angry about that, and I became an angry adult. So I always sat with so much anger, and then I saw that being brought out to my son, honestly. And then I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that. That was my rock bottom for me, and I actually recorded it. I recorded myself reacting in a way that I wasn't proud of to my son, because he's just being a kid. You know, you're yelling at a kid for being a kid, and you don't realize you're doing that because they were yelling at us as kids, you know? So you're kind of just repeating that pattern. I looked at that video, I'm like, holy shit. Like, no, I want him to be someone, I want to be someone he's proud to say that's my mom, you know? And if it wasn't for him too, he changed my life completely. He's the one that I wanted to find something, you know, and I had no idea it was going to be this. I just knew I was like feeling unworthy, feeling like garbage. Something has to change here.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm. And it's really not easy. It's a hard thing to do because you have to go within and you have to cry that shit out and you have to journal that shit out and you have to really reparent yourself from the inside out, or else it's just going to stay within you.
Have you worked the steps, the 12 steps of AA? Because it sounds like that sounds just like a moral inventory, you know, that you would take on what, step 8, you know, where you would, I don't know if you're familiar with this, like the AA steps, the 12 steps.
I'm not, but I could just see that it all pretty much correlates together. Rather which way you go down in a healing way, like it all kinds of is the same, just different, you know, how you explain it.
For sure. Yeah, you have to do that internal reflection no matter which way you go to grow, overcome it, for sure.
A lot of people in you could say our community or line of thinking or alternative thinking have definitely been through some shit or go through some shit in their own head, and that's what makes them, you know, wake up, if you will, start thinking all these different things. And yeah, it manifests in many different ways. But something I was thinking with both of you, like, that I can't relate to, and I feel like I'm stressed and, you know, spazzing out myself, but I don't even have kids to worry about, both your parents, and so now you got to worry about another person and your own shit. So, man.
Yeah, it's not easy being a parent, but it's definitely rewarding for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm jealous. I got hit with the urge to want to be a dad like as soon as I hit 30, kind of, and I'm not one right now, but one day. But
yeah.
How do you two feel about raising kids right now and the world that's unfolding? How do you stay sane with that?
So for me, honestly, the way I see reality is that if I give it attention, it amplifies, right? So in my reality, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. And you know, if I say this to my dad will be like, oh, watch, you know, don't walk down the street, watch your surroundings. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm safe. I'm protected. I got angels. I got ancestors. I got my spirit guides around me. Like, I am totally safe. But my dad's like, okay, whatever. Just make sure you watch your surroundings. But I don't have that belief that shit is going to bother me in a negative way, if that makes sense. And I know that's crazy because people are like, well, what about this and that and that? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't pay attention to it. If it affects me in a way, okay, I'll deal with it in a peaceful way and I'll go about that and I'll deal with it. But I'm not going to let it ruin my life and carry negative energy towards it. And because that's what it is, right? It's just an illusion. It's a negative energy. It's shit that I'm dealing with my own shit. I don't want to deal with the outside world.
For sure. I will have to say though, as a martial arts instructor, heed your father's warning. Just it's good to be aware. It's good to be positive vibes too, but be aware. And if I'm not mistaken, I see you painting some Dragon Ball Z stuff. So I know you got some warrior spirit in you if you watch that. So I gotta
Yes,
ask you,
my
what's
son loves Dragon Ball Z.
this this is a telling question to anyone. Who's your favorite character in Dragon Ball Z?
Don't put me on the spot like that. I don't know.
All right, I'll give you a second and I'll ask Mike because I don't know if I've ever asked him.
Bro, I can't name
watched
it.
it.
I'm an
You
old
can
man.
watch it, right? Yeah.
No, I'm 40. I'm 44 next month, bro. So I honestly never watched it. So I don't know.
I was
How
obsessed.
about Naruto? My kids watch that. I know that one.
My son watches that too.
So you can't pick. You're back on the spot now.
I watch, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I watch it when he's watching it, and I'm not really paying attention to it.
All right. Well, there goes my hopeful Dragon Ball Z nerd out. But as we were talking about negative energies and positive energies and stuff, you were talking angels, ancestors. I subscribe to all that as well. And I think it's very real. But do you think that I was discussing this a little bit today earlier with a friend, negative thought patterns and depression and stuff like that, maybe not entirely, but at least partially, or who knows, maybe entirely, caused by like negative entities or that thought forms, just like there's a virus that can infect a computer and make it malfunction and self-destruct, just like there's parasites that get in your body and like make it shut down and kill you. Like who's to say something can't infest your mind or your spirit or something and get in there and start making you think really bad things and suicidal
No,
thoughts
I
and intrusive thoughts.
totally believe you in that. I feel like there's different frequencies, and if you raise your own vibration, you can get out of that. Because I used to be in that. I used to have suicidal thoughts. I used to have really negative, dark thoughts, and I just thought, okay, that's my fate. That's just what I'm dealing with. Until I started to raise my own frequency, and that shit went away. And I'm like, holy shit! Like you don't have to think that way for the rest of your life if you don't want to. You just got to do the work. But a lot of people don't want to do the work.
Programming.
So that's, yeah.
It's hard to deprogram.
It is. But once you get to the other side, it is just bliss.
Most people don't want to do the work because it's really fucking hard looking at the mirror and being honest with yourself, you know? It's a lot easier just to pretend it's everybody else's fault. Yeah, it's not fun.
No, and sorry.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of distractions too. Like alcohol is a distraction and it's highly promoted everywhere. And then we have just everything, even to video games, to shit that's going on out there, concerts, everything is to distract you from going within, essentially. I mean, yes, they're wonderful things and we can enjoy them, but you have to make time for yourself and really sit with yourself and journal if you need to, or cry. A lot of people don't like to cry. And I was like, if crying is a release, you're releasing some type of shit in your body every time you cry. So if you're not crying, you should start.
That's
true.
That's the first. And this is why we brought some feminine energy on the podcast, because we never were discussing our feelings around here. So what else can we speak on that behalf? Emotions, entities, vibes, if you will. Definitely interesting topic. What do you got to say on those? Like emotions, energy, body, spirit. Do you think we have like a aura around us and things can get into our auras?
Oh, definitely.
Like clean your auras and stuff.
Definitely. I do clean my aura regularly. And also we do have like our chakra system that I believe in, that we all have. They all correlate with different things. And if you essentially go through heartbreak and you tighten yourself up, your heart chakra is more blocked, which affects you, which you don't realize it does, but it can in your reality, and also can affect you with heart problems. So that's one way. If you have high blood pressure, low blood pressure, it stems from your energy center. And you could essentially heal that by healing your energy center. But same with trauma, like that closes down your 3 lower chakras. Comes with trauma, anxiety, which is the root chakra. So if you are not healing that, if you have a lot of anxiety, if you start working on healing your chakras, your lower ones, you can release that.
What
And
I was
that's a
gonna
big one.
ask-
I feel like, I'm sorry, what?
I was going to ask, you mentioned Reiki earlier. What is that? That's because I've looked into it a little bit. One of my massage ladies is very like esoteric with her healing stuff. And I've done some other stuff. She'll like needle me and do some cool stuff. I think she mentioned it before, oh shit. Did we lose her?
I think we did.
I can't hear you. Oh, her
No,
phone.
I was on. Yeah, she's coming back in.
Okay.
It's no big deal.
Whoops.
I'm sorry. I got a phone call.
You're good.
It's all good.
What was I saying? So is that like the practice of healing, like your different bodies or whatever? Your
Energetic body.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So basically, Reiki is a Japanese practice. And I wrote this down. Reiki. So Rei means universal, and Ki means a flow of life force energy. So what you're doing when you're doing a Reiki session is that you are opening up your crown chakra to let in the divine golden white light energy. That's what I call it. Other people call it different things, but it's essentially the same thing. And it will flow through your chakra centers out of your palms, which everyone has little chakra centers in their palms. And the more you work with that energy, like the stronger it gets. So then you can, intentionally set it to heal someone else's pain or trauma or whatever. But in order to become like a Reiki practitioner to practice on other people, you have to first learn how to do it on yourself. And then you move up on the stages. So that's what my guru, she taught me that.
Right.
So I used to go to her for that.
So are you practicing things at the moment, like healing stuff?
On myself, because I'm not gonna lie, I work a 40-hour work week, so that's tough and raising a child, so that's tough on trying to squeeze in time for yourself. But I do it on myself, and I do it on my son. So we do it together sometimes if he wants to, but usually I just do it for him.
Do you like meditate or do any other practices like that?
So at the moment, I'm actually, this is crazy and I haven't shared it with anyone actually, but I've really been called to listen to shamanic drumming. So lately, for at least 30 minutes a day, I will blindfold myself and listen to shamanic drumming and meditate.
Brutal.
So I do that daily for at least 30 minutes. I give myself. If it goes longer, it goes longer. But that's one thing that I make sure I do daily, just because something within me is just calling to do that. And if I'm not listening to that, then it's like beating me up in the back of my head that I didn't do that today, or, that I missed a day or two. And I was like, no, this needs to be something I do daily. And I'm not sure where it's going to lead, but it's going to definitely lead me somewhere. But right now, that is what I'm being called to do internally.
Huh. Have you had any wild experiences or consciousness type of shifts and stuff during that?
No, I haven't, which is why I feel like I need to practice more. But I've had consciousness shifts throughout the years from who I am today to who I was.
For sure. And something you mentioned that we will definitely get to, but I want to ask something else first. You said quantum leaping is something you've been deep diving lately. But before ask that, what is your ancestry mainly?
What do you mean by that?
Do you know, like, are you like Native American?
Oh, no, my family's from Peru.
Okay.
So
no, they for sure have some like tribal, way.
Machu
And they were doing, I think DMT comes from Peru. So like they're the ones who kind of pioneered the whole shamanistic thing. So that's not a surprise.
Right. And I've never gone to Peru, but like that is something that calls me to. And I'm I'm going to just go to Peru. Like one of the things that I want to do in life is go to Peru with a backpack with no plan and just let God guide me to wherever the fuck I need to go.
That's
So
awesome.
legendary. Yeah, you got to. You got to.
Mhm.
I had pretty much a similar type of journey when I went to Ireland, and it was epic. That's where most of my ancestry is, and that was. It still feels like some comic book shit. So yeah, I would highly recommend going on a homeland pilgrimage to anyone.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. That sounds so fun. Yeah, I get that idea a lot actually in my head to go do that. But one day I will. I just think my son needs to be older and maybe take him with me.
For
You
sure.
know.
I mean, he's connected to it too.
Mm-hmm.
How is your quantum leap or consciousness shifts then? Let's get into that a little bit. Because I would assume if you were going to be sitting there drumming that maybe you slipped into a different timeline or saw some past ancestor shit, and hopefully it, I mean, is that what you want? That'd be pretty sick, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal, right? Is to feel connected and feel that shit. But no, lately I listened to Bashar, and Bashar is a entity that is channeled by Daryl Anka. And I probably listen to him every single morning when I get ready for work, honestly. And so Bashar is this alternate dimensional being
Holy shit.
that's
I never heard of this.
that essentially is his planet is 500 light years away, right? From the planet Esasani. And he channels Daryl channels him. And you know, time and space, they say doesn't exist. So even though he is technically from the future, they can channel because time and space doesn't exist. So they're channeling whatever. But Bashar says that Daryl is the human Earth version of him, if that makes sense.
And what is the kind of shit that he says?
What?
What is the kind of stuff that he says?
So he'll go into trance, and usually the stuff that I post about is what some of the similar things that he talks about, how you can, by rewiring your brain and changing your beliefs and letting go of, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be as simple as, okay, this is not simple, but let's just say trauma in your life. You can heal it, but he talks about jumping into another reality to where you're already healed. And you can do that instantaneously if you choose to, by going within and connecting to that version of you on an alternate universal Earth that already exists, that you are that version. That makes sense. And then he says that we on this planet shift through alternate dimensions and universes 1 billion times per second. So the person you were a second ago, you don't have to be that person. So he says that the reason why we don't see that shift is because we're programmed like a computer to keep those memories going. And that is what essentially is keeping us stuck to one type of reality Earth, dimensional Earth. And which I believe that is why people have that Mandela effect, because they're shifting through different parallel reality Earths. They're not even realizing it. So that little shift in, like, I don't know what people say, like a book title or something is different. That is why, because they're shifting through, everyone is shifting through different real. And I don't know how it comes together though, but I do know everyone has their own reality.
It's wild, and stuff like you kind of described has been alluded to before, like with someone hit their head and like wake up and everything in their life's the same, but like their car's different or their wife has a different name, or like it's something small has changed, or you have a near-death experience and then suddenly you wake up and it's like, wait, no, that didn't happen. Something else is off. And I feel like I had it happen to me before with some like Final Destination shit twice while driving, like where I should have got murked by like a falling off plane coming in my car, getting hit by a car coming on, and somehow like, nope, I glitched out and it didn't happen, or I just got really fucking lucky somehow. So I think that that's real.
And that's what like Bashar says too. Like you can say like how you said you were almost in an accident. That version of you actually did play out, but you weren't ready to go. So you shifted your consciousness into another version of you that was similar to the one that you were living.
Man.
Which is wild to even wrap your head around sometimes, to think about that we actually do that.
And what the hell do we live in then?
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask you then? So based on, first off, this is awesome. And so based off what you just said, I was a heroin addict for a long time, for like 15 years. I've been clean for a decade now, over a decade. I overdosed 5 times. I was they were gonna bet, like, literally the one time I woke up and there was a body bag right there. And they're like, the only reason why we worked so long on you is because you're so young. I was in a coma for 5 days one time. So when all of those 5 times, perhaps like I expired, but I just wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
And that could have played, that reality played out. So he says that reality played out of you actually dying, but you were not ready. Your mission on this planet, it was not fulfilled yet. So you chose to keep going.
Yeah. That's so crazy. And people have told me that and I just never believed it, but I do now. I have recently, in the last few years, but I didn't want to believe that. But yeah, it's so weird, right? It's all so fucking weird.
It so is. It so is.
The synchronistic timing of this episode is perfect, because you should have heard what Mike was saying before you got on, Donna. And we send him the past couple things that he's like feeling compelled, and he's like, it's corny, but like I feel like I need to make my channel to help people heal from like drug addiction and stuff. And he's doing that now, and his mission was not fulfilled, that's for sure. We're talking all types of healing, and Mike's going right towards it, and I'm trying to urge him.
Good. I love that. And that's the only reason why I'm doing it too. I'm like, I just want to make somebody else that feels like they're a piece of shit and worthless, that they are more than that. And if someone would have told me that back then, I would have been like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, I do not want to hear this bullshit. But when you actually believe it, and you actually, like, it takes over you, and you're like, holy shit, like, I can be anything I want to be, which is why I started to paint. Because I've always had an inner calling to paint, but I told myself I was never good enough. I don't know how to do this. I can't paint. And then one day I sat down and I'm like, baby steps. I bought my first little thing from Walgreens and some cheap ass paint. And I was like, baby steps. And here I am fucking busting out.
Hell yeah.
Perfect cartoon photos. I work hard on that shit. So
do you do any art shows?
I've done some in the past. Everyone always says, do art shows. I have all my shit hung up here. I just, honestly, I don't have the time, which I don't make the time. I should say that. Right? Because on the weekends, sometimes, like, I want to do whatever the hell I want to do. I don't want to do, pack up my shit and go somewhere, which
and it's a lot of
I should
socializing
at
and
least.
stuff too. It can be a lot of energy to stand around with your creations in front of a bunch of people, I'm sure.
But I would say it is shocking when I'm standing there and they think someone looking at my art is actually the person that did it. And I'm like, no, it's me. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yep. So that was fun. But I do make a couple hundred every time I do sell. So I should probably do that again. But
it's pretty cool to profit off of your creative ventures. That's for sure.
You're connected with Matt Slap, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Our one friend who did the art for this show, he does shows all the time. So
he did the art. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure you got no shortage of other artists that but he's always doing shit. So if you ever want to jump on shows and stuff, I could definitely hook you up with him. Yeah, he's fun. We had him on the show. You might have even listened to him. I think I showed you one that he was on.
Twice. Oh, then I probably have listened to it.
We were talking about like art and creativity and imagination, kind of being like I don't know, a source that you can pull from. Like, are any ideas really unique and our own, or is it like an artist can just like tap into the collective thing and like bring it to life?
Yeah, I totally believe that an artist can tap into a collective flow or whatever that is out there and just do it. Because sometimes I'll look at shit I've done and I'm like, I don't even know how I did that.
For sure. And some people credit things like that to, I don't know, again, entities. Like they say music has a certain vibe to it. Like if you're only listening to hateful metal and shit all the time, that you're going to attract negative entities. Or like what I dislike though is how like the elite, so-called, the real like occult Hollywood weirdos, they're so into art with their twisted weirdo shit, like they corrupt it in a way. But I was getting at, it's like these low vibe entities are jealous of humans because we do have the ability to create, and like demons or whatever else, they just want to, I don't know, tear us down and limit us and make us think that we are worthless or a piece of shit or whatever else. Like I totally think that this is always been my thought. Like if I'm watching fucking presidential elections or whatever else on TV, I'm like, oh, whatever, demons run the world. It's like they live. You put on the sunglasses and everything you see is affected by demons and reptilians, and 100%. 100%. So do you believe in aliens, or do you think that they're demons?
You know, I listened to that podcast that you guys posted. Yes. Was it yesterday or today? I don't
The one
know,
with
but
Ari Part 2 came out today. Yeah.
oh yeah, about that aliens are demons.
Did he say that in that
or
one?
they're not real. I don't know. He doesn't believe in aliens.
I kind of
Yeah.
don't at this point anymore. I was fucking obsessed with aliens for years,
Too.
and I don't know
Really,
what to
really.
think now. I think
That's
they're
so-
probably some type of, maybe they've been here all along. I don't know. The giants,
So-
it seems like they were a flesh and blood thing to me.
So I'm gonna tell you my belief. You could believe it, you don't have to believe it, but I'm gonna share mine. So have you heard of the woman Dolores Cannon?
Dolores Cannon. Definitely I have. She's an abductee?
No, she's a hypnotherapist
Okay.
that will take subjects, and she started as a normal hypnotherapist, like connecting to past lives, and say somebody wanted to quit a bad habit and started in their past life or something. So she just connects them to heal whatever, like smoking cigarettes or something, you know, like healing whatever. Then she kept doing it, and her subjects started to go under, like, she calls it the subconscious mind, to where she was getting universal universal information about aliens, about the planet, about people, about humans, and she would say she channeled somebody from the US. Then she would go to England and channel someone, and it would take off right where she was. So she has about 10 books on her stories of what, you know, aliens that she's essentially connecting, or extraterrestrial beings, whatever, that she's connecting to. And honestly, it lines up with like what other people say, or I resonate with it, you know, on a deeper level. So basically in some of her books, she says that, so I believe aliens exist. And there are stories where people get abducted by aliens, right? So she'll have a subject come to her and say, hey, you know, I've been abducted by an alien. Can you hypnotize me to go back to that time so I can see what happened? Because I don't know. I don't remember. My body went into trauma and I don't have that memory, but I do remember being abducted or whatever. So she'll go back in, you know, that moment. And she's like, yes, you were beamed up to a spaceship, and the spaceship, you signed a contract before you were born to be abducted at this time, at this moment, because you are helping that species do something, you know, whatever it is. And so, yes, it's traumatizing on a human level, but on a spiritual, higher self level, you knew this was going to happen to you. And the reason why you forgot it was because it's so traumatic that your human body can't process it right now, or some shit like that. So she kept, you know, doing this to other people. And what she eventually got was like, which has helped me in my healing journey, and to let go of shit that's happened to me, that I signed up for this, that everyone gets a soul contract. Have you heard that? That everyone has a soul contract, and
Yeah.
you know it. You essentially watch your parents before you're born. So you watch your parents for a few years, you sign, well, you don't really sign, however it works up there, right? But you're like, you watch these two people, you're like, yes, these are my parents. And usually we incarnate into families that we've incarnated on other planets, so they say, or on different like past times, you know, on this planet. So you sign this contract and you watch these people, you get born into their family, and usually it's to break those generational curses. But you get so stuck in the game and you get so stuck on the wheel of karma that none of it gets, you know, no one's fulfilling their mission. So in her books, they talk about that and how the reason why we're here is to change the world and break free of all the chains and shit and how the world's been running for the past, I don't know, like trillion years or whatever. So
I think that we all are kind of, you know, in something we gave permission to be here for. It's yeah, like you said, you kind of signed up for it. I do believe that. I do believe we're in the time we're in for a reason. Although I kind of wish I was back in a simpler time, to be honest.
You're like the Bronze Age, right?
That's where I would have done my best, I feel. That's where I probably did my best. That's probably where I belong.
Can I say something about what you were just saying, Donna? Reminds me, there's a book. I wonder if you've read it. It's called Journey of Souls, and it's by a gentleman named Michael Newton, and he is a psychiatrist and hypnotherapist, and he didn't do past life regressions or anything like that, but he would always have people asking him to do it. And he had a long-term client, and eventually this client had this pain, and this client thought that maybe if he was able to do a past life regression, he could figure out where this pain came from. So the hypnotherapist eventually decided, okay, I'll do it. Well, what he found after doing the first one, he ended up doing hundreds of all different kinds of people. And what he found is all these people described the same places when they went after death, the same rooms, the same soul groups. He explained, and it really it really connects everything. And it's like, it really shook me to my core, you know, and it's a crazy book. And I think you'd probably enjoy it if you haven't read it. It's called Journey of Souls.
I'm going to write that down because I have not read that.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to the work that you were just describing. So I think you'd like it.
And
Yeah.
to go back to the alien thing real quick, freaking the abductions, I don't know where I'm at with it, because they do happen. The abductions seem to happen. Like there was giants on the earth. That's 100%. So like there was some Anunnaki, like gene mingling or fallen angel mating. Like people talk with other races. There's reptilians, there's spiritual entities. Like, but all I know is the government trying to get us to believe in aliens is what makes me be like, nah, dude, there's no fucking way now. Why would Ancient Aliens be on the History Channel and pushed on us unless they're going to pull a fast one on us now and try to trick us?
Well, yeah, I definitely do think there's a trick up their sleeves with it eventually, right? Because we're taught to fear them. But all the books I've read about aliens, they are just as brothers and sisters as we are as humans. To us, that's how they see us. Because if they wanted to kill us, they could have done that by now. Their technology, they're so advanced, so they say in the books, that they could have blown us all out already if they were here to harm us.
Maybe they have on a different timeline.
Yeah.
And we just all jumped because we weren't ready.
That's true. That's true. That could happen. But do you hear like there's in Sedona that there are ships above, and do you ever see like people, I have people that I follow on Instagram that they'll post clouds and it'll be in a shape of a ship, and they'll be like, oh, it's a cloaked ship.
For sure. I've been down all of it. I remember I would see things that people would talk about, like the Galactic Federation, and apparently there was like nukes and stuff stopped before by UFOs. Like the UFOs came and like shut down like a nuclear plant, or they were about to like launch a nuke or start a war or something, and something happened. And they say Eisenhower met with aliens. They say the Nazis and like the real society was talking with aliens. I'm sure you heard of Maria Orsic, right? The lady
No.
I'm sure you've probably heard of it or seen her, come across her, but she's like some Nazi witch lady. Like they had government appointed like witchcraft and like a cult society. It was these ladies with like super long hair. They wouldn't cut their hair because they thought their hair was like an antenna to the spirit world, and they were communicating with these beings from another world and like channeling them
I
and
do
stuff.
believe that though, that your hair is an
Oh.
antenna.
For sure. For sure. Have you not cut your hair for a long time because of that, or do you still cut it?
No. I do whatever I want with my hair whenever I feel like it. So no, I believe that it can be, but I don't practice
Your
that.
hair down to your ankles.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's what these ladies had, and like they would do some classic witch, like a crystal ball, and like meditate in a group and stuff, and they channeled other entities that the Nazis were apparently in contact with and gave them a bunch of technology and ideas, and then she vanished, and who knows, maybe she went away with them,
Wow.
maybe she quantum jump, but yeah, she's a mystical figure.
That's interesting. I've actually never heard that.
What crazy paranormal personal experiences or wild things of your own experience could you share? Anything like that? Or
Well, when I
cryptid?
was a kid, I would see things.
Oh
I
yeah.
would see like mystical, misty, I don't even know how to describe it, like creatures. I don't know. My memory is very vague, but I remember seeing things when I was a kid, which is why I felt so comfortable going into this stuff, because I felt it in my soul. I saw shit that I shouldn't have seen, that shouldn't have been there, as a kid. But when I would tell my parents about it, they would honestly yell at me like, you're lying, this isn't true, like stop making shit up. And I'm like, no, I'm literally about to shit my pants right now, like I saw that, but anyway, so I shut that side of me off. I learned to shut that off as a kid. And I used to, and I would feel things too, like spirits, I guess you can call it spirits, I don't know. I was little, I didn't know what anything was. I just know that I was feeling things that weren't seen. And then so that was all I've seen as a kid. And then I shut that off. And then now that I'm getting into it, I haven't really seen anything that spooked me or scared me enough. But I do, like, some of my things will move, or I have a censored light and sometimes it goes off and on. And I'm not saying like it's something evil or whatever, but like shit like that happens to me all the time. And they say if things happen to you like that, it's because your energy, they know, they can sense that type of energy towards people and they go towards that, which I don't know. I haven't really touched in on like ghosts or shit like that, but shit will move. And also I lived across the street from a cemetery when I was in middle school. So I didn't live in the district, so don't rat me out when we went to school.
What I was going to say is, living in the area, did you ever go to Bachelor's Grove?
Hell fucking no.
No? I used to frequent
My
there.
sisters have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Did you
but
experience
no.
anything?
I'm not sure, honestly. I'm sure they have something to share, but I don't know. No. When I was little, anything that had to do with anything scary or paranormal, I did not want anything to do with that. But now as I'm getting
Closed it off.
Yeah, but now that I'm getting older, I'm getting more comfortable. It doesn't scare me anymore. But when I was younger, hell fucking no, was not messing with that shit.
Yeah, I don't think I'm exactly trying to seek it anymore either.
Yeah.
What about
And also,
go ahead.
Also, I heard like things can follow you. So.
For sure. That's why I don't like messing with that. And it all scares me. Anytime someone's a skeptic on like spiritual stuff or whatever, and they're trying to, I don't know, play Mr. Concrete, like I have to see it, I have to feel it, or it's not real. I'm like, all right, well, would you play with a Ouija board? And if their answer is fuck no, I'm like, okay, why? Because you believe something might happen and you're scared. You're scared because part of you does believe it. But sometimes they'll be like, no, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, you can do that by yourself.
But what I've heard about those boards is that it's the way you approach it. And so essentially you're basically opening up a portal.
For sure.
And if you don't know how to protect and bring in only light and have that, the first beings that want to come to the light, because essentially humans are filled with light. They're attracted to us. Even if you don't believe, like if you believe you have no worth, you are so full of light that other beings know that, like especially the ones of the lower worlds. So those are the first ones that are going to come up because they're the ones dying to reach this space. So that's what they say. Like, if you're not learning how to protect yourself, the board, your surroundings, the first things that are going to approach you are demonic things. I mean, we say it as demonic, but honestly, they say, like, you know, on a God source, higher self level, there is no such thing as good or bad. And there's a reason why that being is that being, you know, and I don't know their path or their story or whatever. So, but we as humans see things, you know, yin and yang, like that has to be demonic and that has to be good, or, you know, shit like that.
True, there is a order to things, and you can't have bad without good.
We just had a demonologist on a little while ago. We haven't released the episode yet. It's going to be soon, but I think we even asked him that exact question about can things follow you, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like that's real." So you're probably smart not to go when you were younger to Bachelor's Grove. It's a scary place.
But you sound like you're speaking from experience. Have you Ouija boarded?
No, I have not. And I probably wouldn't have, even though I feel like I would know how to protect myself from anything. But no, I have never done that. I've heard stories of other people doing it, and that's enough for me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna pass on this one. This
For sure. I've had enough spooks to know that type of shit is real. I don't need to play with the board to figure it out.
Exactly.
I'm very skeptical with a lot of shit. I believe a lot of crazy shit too, but I'm very skeptical with a lot of crazy shit. And I swear to God, this happened. And I'm no exaggeration. This really happened to me. When we were living, before we bought our house, we were living in Lombard. We were living in an apartment building. And my wife was experiencing like things while I was at work, and I'm like, and like weird shit, like a box moving across the floor. She thought it was our cat. It wasn't our cat. She was trying to open the bedroom door, and she said it was like 500 pounds was keeping it shut. And then all of a sudden, boom, it opened. And then she said she saw mist forming. Okay, like this all happened in like 3 days. So invited a buddy over, and I was like, let's fuck it. We got all high and shit. And it was like 2 in the morning. And I'm like, let's do some EVPs, you know? So I had a fucking dictaphone, dude. Everything was quiet. And I was like, I was asking a bunch of questions, you know, like, hey, are you a man or a woman? Who are you? Da da da. And then when I put headphones on, I played that back. I swear on everything I love, bro. I swear on my kids, everything I love. When I asked the question, are you a man or a woman? You heard a voice say, female. I swear to God.
Only
And
on the
then
recording?
on the recording, you could
Or you
hear
heard
it.
it in real life?
No, they didn't hear it in real life. Didn't hear shit in real life. It was only until I played it back. And like my buddy Sean, who was there, I was like, bro, I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you what I hear, but I'm gonna tell you after I ask this question. Tell me what you hear. He heard the same thing. My wife heard the fucking same thing. You could hear it, bro. It was there. Guess what I found out like 4 days later? I was friends with the guy, the kid that lived right below me, him and his family. What I found, I told him the story. What I found out like a week later was that before we moved in, on the floor above us, a woman had a baby and her postpartum stress was so bad that she killed herself.
Yeah.
Aw.
I'm like, that has to be fucking connected, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm not, I mean, I don't know. That's so weird, right? Like, I don't even know what to believe, but that was real. That really happened.
No, I totally believe that.
I'll say when we went to Bachelor's Grove once, we went to our friend's house after, and his door slammed open that night apparently, and there was a hole in the wall, as if like unless he went that far to like trick us to be like, hey, let me piss off my family by pretending that some, because he was scared as fuck to go anyway, and we went in the middle of the day, and then we caught an EVP that day actually too, and it was crazy because like it was undeniable, like you probably heard or you watched the ghost shows and you're like, yeah, bro, this is made up, like this is corny, and like we're listening back just chilling, and there was a part like, you know, the legends that like mobsters would dump bodies in the lagoon there or something, and we're like talking about mobsters on the recording, and like as we're talking about it, you hear a whisper and it goes, come get some punk, and we listened to it so many times over, come get some punk, like a taunt from a mobster or something, and it was like creepy, gross, just like guttural, exactly how they sound, like ghostly. And then his door slammed open and left a hole in the wall that night, and like his sister was freaking out and shit. So yeah.
That is wild. When
I saw
I
the
was,
dog man.
what was that?
I said I saw the dog man there too, but that's neither here nor there. Go ahead. Tell your story, what you're about to say.
When we lived across the street from a cemetery, things would happen to me, but only when I was home alone. And there would be a time, it was super late at night one day, and coming from my mom's room, the TV turned on. And it wasn't like a normal channel. It was like that, like static. It was static.
Of course.
And I'm the biggest chicken. And I had to be like 12, 13 years old.
And you're
Okay.
home alone?
And I had to go in there and unplug it from the wall, because there's no way I was just gonna turn off the button. Like, that shit would have turned back on. And my heart is beating fast. I go and I close her door and I go to the bathroom. I'm like calling my mom, like, come home. And she's like, you're crazy, you know, like not trying to hear what I gotta say. I get out of the bathroom, her door's open. I'm like, what the fuck? I know I closed her door because I didn't want to see inside it.
Oh no.
So the door was open. I closed it again and I was hearing noises from there. And I sat in my hallway until my mom came home, because I was not about to deal with that. But after we moved out of that apartment, my mom actually said that when she was home alone, things would happen to her too, but she didn't want to say anything because she didn't want to scare us even more. So I'm like, great. So you just played it off like none of the shit that I went through was anything. You're making that shit up, and I'm over here dying because I'm scared out of my mind. But
was she experiencing some of the same stuff?
She would experience things moving. And honestly, she said that things would be there 1 second and she would go back and she's like, I know it was just there and it's not there. And it'd be somewhere else. But she wouldn't tell us that until we left. And you know what's so crazy is the first night she brought us to that apartment to show us. She took us at night purposely so we wouldn't see what was across the street, which was a cemetery. And it was Resurrection Mary Cemetery.
Are you kidding?
Oh man, I got a story about that when you're done.
Okay. So and I didn't know that at the time, you know. So we're going up the stairs, we're looking at this apartment, I'm looking around and I'm looking through all the rooms and it's empty, and I go back to where like everyone was and I'm like, do you guys feel that there are like dead people in here? Do you guys feel that? And my mom kind of like her eyes blinked open and she's like, why would you say that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just asking if you guys feel that. And I had no idea that across the street was a cemetery.
Some people are just more sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen the gates? I think they got rid of them now, but like you could see where supposedly she grabbed the gates and they re-welded like those parts. So a long time ago, this was probably like, okay, I didn't even have a license yet. So it was probably like 1995. Okay. Me and my cousin, we'd wait for his dad to go to bed, and then we would go out in his Aerostar and we would go like from Bolingbrook to pick up girls in Berwyn, right where we were from. So actually my wife is in this story at the time.
Where is the cemetery?
Justice, Illinois.
Okay.
Resurrection Cemetery. And so you know the story, she hitchhiked, so you have to go through Summit too. Like we would go through Summit, Burritoville. And okay, so one night we picked up these girls, one of them, which is my wife now, and my cousin's driving. The girl he's seeing is passenger. My girlfriend's middle row, and I'm middle row, closest to the sliding door on the right. And we're driving down Archer Avenue, which is the main drag that the Willowbrook Ballroom's off of, that she was at, and the cemetery and everything. And we're going, and all of a sudden up in front on the right, we see like a jogger, but this jogger's wearing like a glowing white kind of like weird outfit. It wasn't like a dress. It was like a glowing white. And as we pass, I look and she's right next to me in the window and I'm making eye contact with her. It was black, soulless eyes, dude. I like stared into it. And I turned like this, and I was like, dude, that's fucking weird. And then my cousin is looking in the rearview mirror, and he says, what the fuck? And I said, what? I turn around. She's running in the middle of the road, gaining on us as he is flooring the fucking car. As I turn around back to my cousin, I'm like, dude, go. He's like, she's gone. I said, what? I said, hold on. I said, people can run fast, but people don't disappear. I said, turn around. And I had to fucking convince everybody to turn around. And if you know, like, there's like a little like runoff with a fucking fence, like a fucking 12-foot tall fence on this side. And she didn't cross the road. So we went back, dude, and we couldn't figure out where she went. I'm not saying it was her, but that was a fucked up experience right there.
Mhm.
And you know, we used to go all up and down Archer trying to find, you know, her. And I remember one time I was like, fuck this, she ain't real, fuck her, you know, like fuck effing the dead, you know. And then right after I said it, there was a cross. You know, like people put crosses for accidents and shit. There was a cross right in the side of the woods that said R.I.P. Mike. And it was like right after I was cursing her, bro. I was like, oh, that shut me up.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Fucking resurrection. That was terrifying, I bet, living next to it.
That was
Yeah.
a
Oh my
good story
God. Yeah.
drop.
And those stories that you hear, like the one that you just said, like similar stories, I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with that place ever again. It's for some reason, ghosts like that just freak me out. I don't know. She needs to cross over. Someone's got to help her to the other side.
I'm sure the ghosts could be described as some sort of stuck in between timelines or realities or something too.
So I've heard that ghosts are, they've lived so many human lives that when you die, you kind of forget that there is more. So when you die, you're like, okay, no, I need to stay here because essentially you lived so many lives here that you think this is where you're supposed to be, as a human, that you forget that you're supposed to go wherever it is that you're supposed to go. So they cling on to Earth. That's what I've heard, that they cling on to Earth because they forget.
Yeah, that's definitely something, like if you're heavily imprinted to like an area or a routine or something that you're seen still doing that thing or whatever, like they say, oh, you still hear the ghost footsteps or the ghost like whistling this tune, or you hear the soldiers bringing their fucking boots along the walkway or whatever. But this guy that I met at Bachelor's Grove, I think I've told this story before, uh basically described ghostly phenomena as a glitch, or he called it time travel. And we were smoking weed at the time. He's like, smoking weed is a form of time travel too. And he didn't elaborate on that, but he left it at that. And he said that ghost is just like a playback of something else that happened at that time or that's happening at that time. And he tried to say that he slipped into a different reality. Like he's like a groundskeeper at Bachelor's Grove, or like a really enthusiastic Bachelor's Grove guy. And he said that he's heard people talking there that weren't there, like saying like, oh, I saw it, like thinking that he's the ghost in Bachelor's Grove that someone else is seeing in a different timeline. Like there's a group of people at Bachelor's Grove that aren't there in his reality, if you will, that are seeing like an apparition of him bleeding through, and he can't see them, but he can hear them. So he came up with that idea that it's like an interference of reality or something. And he referenced the tower nearby, if you know, like that big orange radar tower at the park nearby, like the Gaelic Park or near the school, Foster or Hilly or whatever, the Tower Park they call it. He's saying that electromagnetic radio tower or something, it causes a glitch in reality, and that's where paranormal hotspots occur. And as soon as he was doing that, my wheels started turning as he was talking about that. Like the druids and like ancient like pagan dudes would be like in the near the tallest tree or near the tallest standing stone. It's kind of just like using crystals to channel or enhance things. And even radios are made out of crystals and minerals and stuff. So I feel like that modern technology is just doing the same thing that they were doing back then, trying to like communicate with the spirit world or some shit.
I believe him. I'm sure shit like that happens. It has to.
Do you
Where
like
you're
going into nature a lot?
Me? Yeah, I have to. It's my way of letting go and releasing anxiety and stress. And if I could just sit at the park on some grass, that's a perfect day for me.
People don't really realize how profound touching grass is for your well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated.
It is.
They meme it, the meme, go touch grass, weirdo, whatever. But being in nature is awesome,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it heals you, actually. It really does.
especially
So
if you're barefoot.
yes. And I try to be all the time. If I'm outside at a barbecue, my shoes are off. You can look at me like I'm crazy. I don't give a fuck. I passed that stage where I don't care anymore about how other people view me. And I will be barefoot at the park, anywhere that is, you know, safe grass to walk on. I will take my shoes off.
100%. Fear of what other people think is probably one of the biggest mental traps.
It is, especially growing up.
I'm thankful we
School.
all grew up when we did, though, and not right now, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I hate technology. I can't
Oh,
imagine being fully immersed in technology, like from the get-go. Like, at least I feel like we kind of like grew up at the pace that it was getting better. Like, we started off with terrible video games and like no cell phones. Then we get the first incantations of cell phone, like just as we're becoming old enough and shit. Mike, you're a little older, but still same shit. You had like
Mm-hmm.
very little technology to now like still being competent. Like, you're better with it than I am.
Dude, I fucking lived
Years.
through answering machines to beepers to phones. I was just telling my kids, it's like y'all are fucked. Like your generation's fucked. Like, dude, when I was in seventh grade, I would like before school, I'd put out frozen meat and like think about how I'm gonna go home and make chili, you know? And I would in seventh grade. My fucking son is going into eighth grade. The motherfucker can't even microwave hot dogs. It's like, bro, you know, it's like, you guys are in trouble. And I try. It's my only job is to make sure that they can be productive people. And I'm doing my part, bro, but it's just, I don't know, these generations, man, I'm genuinely scared for them, you know.
Technology is definitely
Du-
a
Dumbed us
tool that
down.
we can use, but it's a hindrance as well.
Yeah, I do agree.
How old is your son?
He is 9.
That's
He's
what, like
going into
fourth
fourth
grade,
grade.
fifth grade? Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the school system nowadays?
You know, I hate it, actually.
Were you a good student or a bad student?
Me?
Yeah.
I
You had to have been
was.
good because you weren't in any of the dumb classes with me. So
No, I was in dumb classes, actually. I did not give a shit. School was the last thing on my mind. I hated school. I was so consumed with the trauma and shit going on at home that like I couldn't even focus in school. I could not give it my time. I was just thinking about what I was gonna deal with when I got home or shit like that all the time. Because my mom was I forget what she was addicted to, some type of narcotic at the time. And I had a little sister, and that my house was just full of chaos. So the
are you the
last thing
oldest sibling?
huh?
Are you the oldest sibling?
No. I have 5 siblings. And I have 2 older, I'm the middle, and then I have 3 younger. So it was a chaotic household for sure. And the last thing on my mind was school. I did not give a fuck if I failed. I couldn't. That was just not my priority at the time. And that's sad to say that as a kid, like I could not even enjoy being in school because I was so worried about my home life and what was going on there.
That is sad, and I'm sorry you had to deal with that, but it seems like that's what put you on to your journey of healing and whatnot, and exactly what you are now. But I could say myself, school was definitely not fun or enjoyable. So I don't think missing out on the brainwashing indoctrination society was that big of a miss for you. Maybe it's
Yeah,
good that you're
no.
unconscious for it.
And they say like kids that don't grow up and get so trapped in with the school system and all that are meant for different things. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to change the fucking world. And once I heard that, I'm like, fuck yeah, because I knew there was a reason why I did not give a shit about any of this shit that was being taught.
Maybe just all a little neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm. Even my son too, he'll be like, I don't understand this. Why are we going to this? I don't get it. I don't like it. And I'm like, I know. And I would love to homeschool him, but I always say when you're older and you can be home alone and you can do your work, I will pull you out of school and you can be homeschooled. But until then, you gotta go. That's what I say to him.
I think the natural authority hater in me and rebel just immediately, it did not vibe. And I used to like cry over my homework and spaz out over math problems and never do any of my work. And I wasn't like a bad kid. I just fucking didn't do the work. I hated it. I couldn't focus.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't say I was a bad kid either. I just said I never did my homework. I never did my homework ever. I wasn't gonna start now in high school. Like I never. Also, what?
Go ahead.
Also, like I was never taught to do my homework at home. You know what I mean? Like I was never taught to sit down and do this. So I never gave a shit, honestly.
What do you two think about autism? Like, do you think it's overdiagnosed thing? Do you think there's way more people getting autism because they're poisoning us and shit? Or do you think we're all a little autistic? Because I feel like I am legitimately like ADHD, autistic, a little bit, gotta be.
ADHD, I don't know if that's real. I don't
know
believe
if it
that's
is
real
either, but I would
I
say
do
I'm wired
believe
differently for sure.
I do believe autism is increased because they're poisoning us.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my take on it. ADHD, I feel like, is a made up thing, but I believe that it is because kids have so much energy, they're vibrating at a higher frequency than they were in the past. And instead of teaching children, like, you know, children should be running around. They have all this energy, they need to be used, and they're being forced to sit in a chair. So of course they're going to freaking shove a pill down their throat to make them focus. But with autism, see, I don't know. See, okay, this is my take on autism. I feel like autism is something we are brainwashed to believe that is bad. And just because they don't fit in the society matrix mold, that they, oh my God, my kid has autism, like crying about it. But also if you've met somebody with, you know, I don't know the different levels of autism, but like they radiate light, you know? So how can I say that that person wasn't supposed to be that person, you know, exactly the way they were? And then in a book, like when Dolores Cannon channels people or channel information, she says that if you want to break out of your karma, you can incarnate into a life where you have autism or where you're deaf or where you're blind, because you're essentially breaking your karma wheel, you know, whatever it is that, I don't even know, that whatever karma is, you're healing that by incarnating into a life that is essentially harder. But then I've also heard that say you've killed someone in a past life, your son or something that has autism that needs your help to take care of for the rest of your life is your karma because you've killed that person. So now in this life, you need to take care of that person.
Wow, that's wild. I've never heard of that.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't doubt it. This shirt that I'm wearing is like some karma shirt. It's like a famous picture of a animal butcher that's a pig, and he's like going after the farmer. And
oh, that's funny.
They say like there's an alternate timeline. I think it's like in Hindu mythology where humans are the prisoners of animals and humans are the slaves of animals for the way we treat them here.
Karma is another one that I wonder about, though, right? Because we always hear about karma only one way. We never hear about it the other way. Like, what about people that do all this really good shit? How come they never get any really bad shit? How come karma only works one way? You know, I don't know. I think about weird things like that. Yeah, but I agree with the ADHD. It's like, okay, hold on. You have a young kid in a classroom that's totally unnatural, being taught something that's not interesting by a teacher that's underpaid, and he doesn't lock in immediately, so we got to medicate him. Like it's not natural, right? Yeah,
that's definitely not natural.
No, it's perfectly normal in clown world.
Right. Which is why I'm such an advocate of teaching people healing and how to deal with your energy, because you don't have to be on that type of medication for your child. You can learn, if even like a meditation bath. I give my son meditations bath when he's feeling overwhelmed or has too much energy, and that motherfucker would come out of that super relaxed. And I'm just like, if people just knew these different techniques, which, you know, it's not mainstream, it's more mainstream, you know, to shove a pill down your throat. But if they just knew these things, I just feel like the world would be so much better.
Well, that's exactly why they don't want us to know it, because they don't want us to know human potential and, you know, do things for ourselves. They want subservient customer class.
Right.
Peasant
And
class.
keep that illusion, that matrix system alive.
Do you
I
believe in
just
Atlantis?
I crop dust the shit out of my kids with weed smoke to calm them down. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. I just,
Hey, you're not the only parent that I know does that. No.
no, I'm just fucking around. I don't. But it would be funny. Atlantis, you said? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I was asking her if she believes in Atlantis, or a time that Earth was a much more higher vibrational planet, or we were on some more, you know, spiritual. Like, have you ever heard of Tartaria?
Yes.
Do you believe that something like that was real, like an Atlantean time or a Tartarian time, high spiritual Earth?
Yes, I do. And I also read about it in Dolores Cannon's books too. And one of her books
about that.
And Lumeria and all the other shit that was going on, and that we've all lived past lives. I mean, not everyone, but you know, majority of her subjects that she was getting this information from was from that time period. And how they talked about, and then how essentially what is in the book is that the power was being abused
for sure,
in a negative way. So then they had to crumble that existence to start over.
That story is in pretty much every mythology.
It's Bob Frizzell, our very first episode.
Yeah,
that's his shit. He talks about like the Ascended Masters and Lemuria and how the Martian, what did he call it? The Martian, there's like a Martian rebellion that happened on Mars, and then that's where the Lemurians came from down here. And his shit's amazing. His books are really good, but he was our very first guest. Bob Frizzell talks all about that stuff. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it is really fascinating. It's actually awesome. And I believe in it. I believe in it 100%. There's people don't, that's okay. But I do believe in it. I do believe, like, I'm not sure if it's Atlantis, but like where the Bermuda Triangle is, they say that a piece of land, I'm not sure what time period, maybe Lemuria or Atlantis, whatever, still exists deep down in the ocean, which is why that energy comes up and like affects planes when they drive past, or, you know, people say that things disappear, and when they disappear, essentially what I've read in books, that they have gone into a different time period altogether.
I think so.
I don't know.
Some sort of portal or some shit.
Yeah.
And
that there is a crystal down there that is.
Go on your journey to Peru, there's plenty of fucking crazy megalithic sites there, and like the cliffs, and what is it, like Machu Picchu, or what's it called, Mike? What the other ancient alien site? It's Machu Picchu. There's another one though too.
Not Pumapunku.
Is that also Peru?
I think so.
And those places that they said was built by like the cloud people, the giants or whatever, that came down
in one night. And they built it all one night with these megalithic stones that weigh 40,000 fucking pounds. Yeah. And it's like at 8,000 feet in elevation. Come on. You know, no wheels. How did you do that? You know,
it's vibration. Mountains. Yeah.
That's what I've heard, like pyramids, that back then we knew how to work with energy, and we can carry things with energy to sites. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true. I believe it more than us dragging these 1,000-pound pieces everywhere.
Yeah, the pyramids, dude. Some of those stones weigh 100,000 pounds, and they were cut from a quarry 500 miles away. So it's like, how did you get them there? You know what? You floated them 500 miles down the Nile. Okay, sure, I'll give you that. Then what? Then how did you move 100,000 pounds across the fucking sand? You know, on rollers? Come on, dude.
Sound levitation.
Not to mention, it was probably so fucking hot.
Oh, right. Yeah,
There's
I didn't even
no way.
think of that. The fucking
Neither
sand,
did I. It just came to me now. Like that shit, it must have been super fucking hot out there.
right?
The
Yeah,
giants.
maybe,
Could
I
be.
maybe.
think giants are one of my favorites as of late. The hidden archaeology and stuff, like there's all the old accounts or newspaper accounts or photos, like there's no real evidence to go off of, but there's been plenty of stories and anecdotes, literally every culture. Like to me, I'm pretty damn convinced that giants were a thing. I don't know
It's in
about
the
you.
Bible. It's right there in the
It's
Bible,
all
dude.
it's in
David and
every
Goliath.
Yeah,
culture.
I do believe that giants were a thing. Didn't they find like big human remains somewhere?
All the
Yeah.
time in North
Yeah.
America and Europe and Mexico, and it's always covered up. It's the museum, the Smithsonian will always confiscate it, and they magically go missing, and it's just more questions than answers. It goes against the education that we're taught about, I don't know, evolution or the Big Bang or whatever.
Right.
It throws off academia, so they don't want to change the story.
Right. Which will cause mass chaos if they did.
I'm worried about the mass chaos that could potentially, not worried because I'm not worried at all. I think it's a circus to me, and I don't believe politics are real. Mike knows that. Anyone who listens probably knows that. I think it's all fake. Like votes don't matter. It's all picked. They're all related. But I think they're gonna stage some bullshit on us again coming up pretty soon. I don't know what. It's always fun to speculate though.
Yeah, and I've heard like, I mean, I've heard cloning, that there's
For
so many
sure.
types of, Joe Bidens out there. And I don't pay attention to that shit, but like someone will post a picture and I'm like, this does not give me the same energy than the guy that I just saw in the last picture I seen and shit like that.
I
And
think there has been a couple of different renditions of like famous people that they've brought out multiple different clones
absolutely.
or body doubles. I mean, yeah, you didn't strike me as someone who bought into politics too well. Do you think it's all fucking fake? Or do you just
Everything
not pay
you said
attention?
I agreed with every single thing. Yeah, I don't pay attention. It's rigged. It's bullshit. It's just a way to separate us as human beings even more.
Divide and conquer.
Yep, they
Mm-hmm.
have that in every single possible aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you deep dived any secret societies like the Masons and Luciferians and shit like that, Rosicrucians?
I have when I first started to like go down this path, but I don't anymore. I'm more like, this is not to come off bitchy, but like I'm just focused on my reality now, and I'm
Probably a
giving all
good
my
thing.
attention into like who I want to be and what I want to become and stuff like that. And I get that, like all that shit exists, the evil out there, the reptilians, the satanic rituals that, famous people are into, the politicians are into. Yeah, I believe all that shit, but it's going to be there regardless if I give it my energy or not. So I just, for a while now, I don't care, to even pay attention to it or going down into it.
It's definitely, it can get dark. It can get dark. And that's why it is good to center it around your own thing, because they are trying to just get our energy at every turn, to be honest. And sometimes me and Mike will be middle of an episode and I'm hearing these people talk about some crazy shit. And I'm like, man, this is wild sometimes. You got to just balance it out. So that's why we try to have the chill aspect of it.
Yeah, you have to, because sometimes you'll get so into it and sometimes I'll be riddled in anxiety from it. And I'm like, wait, I need to calm down. Like this shit is going to exist with or without, me. Let it just play out how it's meant to play out in the world. And it is what it is. And let me just focus on me.
Yeah, I do like that because I've definitely gone way too into rabbit holes where you lose yourself and need to take a break.
Mm-hmm. And same with like, I don't want to get into wars and stuff, but people are like, what are your thoughts on the war and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honestly, and I don't mean this in a nasty way, but it's, yes, people are dying. I get that, but it's in their soul contracts. It's already meant to play out the way it's supposed to play out. It's gonna be what it is to get people to awaken. But I'm already at that stage to where I'm like, all right, I get that that's part of, their reality and what they need to go through. And they signed contracts before they were, incarnated to go through that, to wake the masses or whatever the case is. So I'm at the point where I just filter it out. I just filter it out.
That probably
But
took
a
some
lot of
time.
people don't like to hear that. Yeah.
That's probably a pretty healthy practice, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Because they
Yeah.
say, like, even Bashar, when he talks about realities, like, there's a reality out there that shit doesn't exist. But the more you buy into it, the more it becomes your reality. So the more you shift your focus into a positive reality, the more you're shifting yourself to a parallel earth to where that shit doesn't exist. Which is what, you know, we're essentially doing with, they say, like, you know, everyone's waking up, people are learning to heal.
Yeah,
That's the
for
Great
sure.
Awakening, the Age of Aquarius, whatever, which is what we're actually doing as in a consciousness level, is just moving to an earth that shit doesn't exist on.
Do you got any fast hacks? Because I'm trying to go there where there's none of that bullshit and one where there's no fucking taxes and technology and other annoying fucking things. How do I
Right.
go?
With not a planet where AI takes over.
Fuck, I know.
Just, I would say, keep your vibration high, listen to those frequencies, learn how to let shit go, sit with yourself, meditate, you know, do that shit. And people always don't want to hear that, but literally it's changed my life. I would not have anything I have today without that.
The power of transformation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Have you have you made amends with your parents? Like, are you guys on better terms now or no?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when I first went down this, I was like, hell no, I'm never talking to my mom again. I don't give a fuck, you know? And then when you start to heal, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, she didn't have a good life. How could she give me a good life? How, you know, and you start to see her as I stopped viewing her as someone above me that I was craving nurturing from, you know? And then now, like, kind of the roles are reversed. Since she comes to me for healing or like with her problems, and I'm like, don't focus on that, you know? Like, honestly, that's how it is with my whole family now. They come to me for guidance, I guess you can say, rather than the other way around. And I never thought I would get to that point. And then when I'm here, I'm like, oh, damn, like, there are levels to this. Because I thought I was fine, you know, just cutting her out of my life. Because that's what most people do, right? They're like, oh, negativity, let me cut that shit out of my life. But once you actually deep dive into yourself and realize, like, oh, my mom, like, she didn't have anything good in her life either. And I just see, like, I just want to heal her, you know, like, just help her see her own worth. Because how could she think I was worthy? Or how could, you know, how could she love me the way I thought I deserved to be loved as a child if she wasn't even loving herself?
Profound.
And plus
That's
there
so
was,
true.
yeah, and plus there was 5 of us. Like, her tension was definitely all over the place, you know, with us, with herself. I cannot blame her for anything that she's done to me, because honestly, it's made me who I am today, and now I could help her, honestly.
That's
Awesome stuff.
awesome.
Freaking,
Yeah.
there's a proverb I like: those who know must teach. So you're embodying it. You're spreading the info, and you're giving it back to your family, and gotta love it.
I had something real similar too when I got to a certain age and maturity, when I realized, just like you said, when I realized that, oh, my mother's just a person just like me with her own flaws and her own issues. And yeah, and once I realized that, I was able to see things in a different way and heal more, you know. That's so true. So true.
Yeah, you definitely let go of that, like, inner child trauma or shit that you hang on to. And it's honestly, it's liberating to
Yes.
not feel that way anymore, or not view them like in a negative light. She still drives me crazy, but, you know, I don't let it affect me like I used to. Like, it doesn't trigger me anymore. I see her and I'll be like, okay, I see you need some space. I'll let you have your space, and we'll continue this conversation when you're ready.
Being the conspiracy nut of the family is always the pattern. They laugh and they think you're nuts, and they're like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. And then eventually, yeah, they do come back for knowledge or ask our opinion on things.
And that's how it was too. When I first started, they were like, look at this bitch. What the hell is she doing? Why is she doing that? She looks goofy as hell. And now every single one of them come to me for something.
Gotta love
Mhm.
it. My
Mhm.
family fucking turned it around when the whole pandemic shit happened. Before they would always think I was a nut, and then they kind of saw it in front of their eyes, and they were all, you know, on board with fuck the government, fuck everything. Now it's a psyop. But yeah,
My
Yeah,
family's still fucked.
yeah, like family has disowned me because of my views
no
when
way.
COVID happened and shit. But honestly, I'm thankful. Like 2018, 2019, I started to go down my spiritual awakening, because if I didn't, I'd probably still be fucked like everyone else in the world. So
We're so hopefully slowly unfucking it.
that's the goal, right?
Yep. Got anything else? Closing thoughts, Donna? This was a great episode.
This was awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. I do have one thing to share about aliens that keeps
Let's
coming
go.
up in my head because I didn't share it last time. Have you heard about like people getting x-rays done, and then they'll have like,
Plants?
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
So and in the books that I've been reading, in Dolores Cannon's book, she says that they are to track and to watch what's going on here. And you've essentially, on a soul level, signed up for that because your soul is part of their soul group, whatever alien beings. So in a way that it is, you've signed up for that.
You're their undercover human.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically living this human life, because you forget who you are, where we're from when you incarnate, and you think you're that person, but you're so much more than just that little human.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a doctor that had a documentary where he removed like dozens of those implants. Maybe Michael know.
It was a Jeremy Corbell film. It was called Patient 7 or something like that. Yeah, he removed something from him, and it was Lear. Dr. Lear was his name too. And yeah, he removed it, and it was like metal that wasn't like the fucking metallic makeup of it wasn't from, like, the isotopes weren't from Earth. So it's
Right.
like, wow, what is that, dude? What is that?
So does
Uh,
that make you still not believe in aliens?
No,
Knowing
I definitely believe in something. It's just for the longest time I believed in aliens as okay, they're from fucking Mars, they're from a galaxy far, far away, they're this, that. Now I think that they're more so like some sort of spiritual entity, or they're uh maybe they are an alien, but they're an alien that like lived on Earth or in inner Earth or something before us. Who the fuck knows? I just know that we've been lied to about a lot, so I don't know what to believe.
yeah, I get that.
There's something. There's definitely non-human entities. I don't know what to call them though. But if the government wants me to think that they're in UFOs and they're going to come be our friends, then I'm going to tend to not believe that. I don't know. There's probably good and bad ones for sure. I flip flop my thoughts all the time. Yeah, as
Yeah.
anyone with an open mind should.
Right, because that's how you stay open.
Exactly.
Yep.
You gotta question your own beliefs at
100%.
Mhm.
Where can
The
any of
last,
the
I got one more question for Donna. Do you think that we are living in a simulation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do
something
too.
like that, if we can change realities and dimensions and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Elon Musk convinced me that we were living in a simulation. And it was real simply, and I'll keep it quick. He basically said that, okay, humans, what we do is we improve upon things. We make things better, right? So even if you assume we get better at a 0.01%, eventually we'll get to a point where reality is indistinguishable from anything. And we progress at a much faster rate than that. So we're in a fucking simulation.
well, Elon wants to put a chip in all of our heads, so I don't really
Yeah.
care what that guy. He's a fucking weirdo for that.
He is a weird. He's smart though.
Yeah, they say I've heard like he's part reptilian. I don't know, but
He seems like a likely candidate if we were going to pick a few out.
yeah,
Him and
Mhm.
Zuckerberg.
definitely.
Where can the listeners keep up with you, Donna?
On my Instagram page at the warrior goddess _.
Do you have an art store or YouTube channel? Any plans to start your own podcast?
Etsy.
Etsy is something I've messed around with before. I do have a page on my Instagram, but I haven't put any of my art stuff on there. It's more of my I make spray bottles of protection spray. I have those. I have energy spray, and I have a bath salt mix that should help you release some stuck energy within the body. So that's my thing that I've been working on, more holistic healing products that I've been doing. And that's linked up to my Instagram page.
Badass.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Everyone be sure to check that out. Give her a follow. And yeah, if you got anything else you want to say, go for it.
Just live your best life and know that you're worthy
Love
of
it.
anything you want to do in life.
100%.
Mhm.
That's why I knew you'd be good on this episode. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was good to actually talk.
Yeah, this was so fun. And I was so nervous, but I got right into it. It was good times. I enjoyed every second of this. So thank you.
Likewise.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Definitely.
And thank you for listening to the other episodes and just being cool and being open.
All the time. I listen to them when I'm at work. So it's fun to do two things at once, Get
Well,
that
now
thing
our
done.
audience can listen to you.
Awesome. And I'll listen to it too.
Fuck yeah. Well, take care.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Donna.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Solid.
You want to record the end real quick or no?
Sure.